What's up guys, it's A here from TechBomb and welcome to another video on the channel. Today I'll be going through the Samsung Galaxy S evolution process. And back in 2010 Samsung first launched the Samsung Galaxy S1, and right up till today when they've recently launched the Samsung Galaxy S7. So without any further ado, let's jump straight to the evolution process. So it all started back in June 2010 when Samsung released the Galaxy S I9000, which featured a 4-inch display on a 480 pixel screen and having a 5 megapixel rear camera which could record in 720p alongside a front horrible VGA camera. With only 512 megabytes of RAM running on a 1 GHz processor, you absolutely couldn't consider playing large games. However, the game market for phones then was still in development, so it would not have been an issue. And the phone was powered by a 1500 mAh battery, which was okay for the time I suppose, and this came in the 8 and 16 GB versions. Just 1 year later, in April 2011, Samsung then released the Galaxy S I9100 with a slightly larger display of 4.3 inches and the same 480 pixel screen. This time around throwing in a decent rear camera of 8 megapixel, which could actually record in 1080p at 30 frames per second, and also having a front 2 megapixel camera, which was decent compared to that horrible VGA camera which was installed on the S1. Also upgrading the RAM to 1 GB and installing a dual-core 1.2 GHz processor meant this could handle most applications with ease. All this was powered by a larger 1650 mAh battery, which was all good in the hood at that time, and this came in the 16 and 32 GB versions. And then in May 2012, Samsung decided to release the Galaxy S4 I9500 to its successor, the Galaxy S2. This featured an even larger display at 4.8 inches, but this time around it ran on a 720p screen, which was much more crisp than the previous two versions. This also having the same 8 megapixel rear camera, which was tweaked for optimum performance and clarity in taking pictures and recording in 1080p at 30 frames per second. However, this only featuring a 1.9 megapixel front camera, which was a slight downgrade but an upgrade at the same time, as it allowed you to record in 720p with your front camera. Having the same 1 GB RAM and upgrading the CPU to a 1.4 quad-core meant performance was increased and the features and the phone became faster and smoother to operate. This also being powered by a massive 2100 mAh battery was great for less charging and more using. This came in 16, 32 and 64 GB versions, which was insane memory for phones at the time. But again, competition makes you go further, and Samsung did exactly that by releasing the Galaxy S4 I9500. I don't know what happened to the I9400, but they just jumped straight to the I9500. And jumping into a 5-inch display with a 1080p screen meant that you can watch in perfect 1080p, and bumping up the camera to a whopping 13 megapixel was something you see in digital cameras at that time. And this time including a 2 megapixel front camera which could actually record in 1080p, and having a 2 GB of RAM and 1.9 GHz quad-core processor meant you can play 3D engine games like a charm. Even larger battery meant more battery life. Well, that's half true I suppose. As other components and size and power increase, the battery needs to increase or you won't be lasting half a day. Again, this came in 16, 32 and 64 GB versions. Samsung was not giving up there, and another year had passed and the S5 was released in April 2014. Year by year, the phone screen kept on getting larger and larger, and now we're at 5.1 inch with a 1080 pixel screen. Bumping up the camera to a 16 megapixel, you can take still images of very fine and high quality, and the video camera enabled recording at 2160p, which meant you could record in 4K, and now the quality of that is much more crispier than the 1080p in itself. Keeping the same RAM of 2 GB and slightly improving the processor from a 1.9 GHz quad-core to a 2.5 GHz quad-core meant it was matching many laptop speeds at the time. And of course, better features mean better battery, so they installed a 2800 mAh battery, which meant you were good for the day if you were on a medium to heavy kind of use. However, you might still need a portable charger to carry around with you. This came in 16, 32GB versions, but higher memory versions were released later. Early last year, Samsung then released the upgraded and better Samsung Galaxy S6 and 6 Edge, which is their flagship phone. The same screen size as the Galaxy S5 at 5.1 inches, but a much higher quality, coming at 1440p. And of course, again with a 16 megapixel camera that can record in 4K was really awesome. This time they went in and threw a 3GB of RAM, which is insane for a phone. Also having a smaller battery than the previous model at 2550 mAh in a sealed back, which meant yes, you can't take the battery out and you're stuck if your phone decided to crash. Just brilliant. Anyways, this came in the 32, 64 and 128GB version. Again, this is insane. And finally, earlier this month of March 2016, Samsung released the all new and powerful Galaxy S7 and 7 Edge. Also featuring a 5.1 inch display meant you can watch awesomeness on a large and clear display, which was again a 1440 pixel screen. For some reason, downgrading the camera from a 16 megapixel to a 12 megapixels don't make any sense to me. But anyways, at least we can still record in 4K. And this has a 5 megapixel front camera, which means selfies just got better for you guys who enjoy selfies. Now, the fun bit of this phone is that it has a 4GB of RAM. Question is, do you need 4GB? I think maybe not, but hey, I'm not complaining. Maybe down the line we'll have some apps that need and make use of that 4GB of RAM. And lastly, a huge and whopping 3000 mAh battery is what this bad boy handset needs, or you'll have to walk around with a wall socket attached into your pocket everywhere you go, or you could just get a power bank and carry those around. And finally, this comes in the 32 and 64GB versions, and I'm hoping I'm right there. There may be a 128GB, I believe. But there you have it, guys, the Samsung Galaxy S evolution process. Do you think they made enough changes to satisfy us, or did we just go along with the scheme? Drop it down in the comments below what your thoughts are, and I'll have a read through them when I have time. I'm just kidding, I'll read them straight away. But if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share the video and subscribe for more awesome tech videos and support my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.